Okay, welcome everybody. Today I have Dr. Mandy Sheen. Mandy is a doctor of psychology. I'm privileged to work with her at the school that we work at. Before then, she was working at a university, though, teaching teachers how to teach, running the Masters of Education, I believe. Is that correct, Mandy?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And she also has a book called Turning Points, some resilience and making life changes. There we go. Beautiful.
It just happens to be there.
How are you going today, Mandy? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm going great. I don't think you could get any better with this Perth weather, could you, for winter?
No, agreed. It's really nice because it's sunny, but like not too hot.
Mm.
Wanted to talk with Mandy today about boundaries. She's helped me immensely personally with a lot of things, actually, with many things in my life. But I think you're second to none when it comes to this boundaries conversation. And we talk about boundaries a lot in our lives these days. I think society's done a pretty good job of normalizing and removing some of the stigma around psychology and mental health and kind of language around our mind. But then with that comes the problem of everyone talking and nobody really fully maybe understanding exactly what each of the different people mean. So, in your perspective, what is a healthy boundary? And what would you say are some common misconceptions that people might have around boundaries?
Yeah, well, I think a healthy boundary respects the rights of others and yourself as a really basic principle. But I think what people do is they learn about boundaries, particularly if they've had none, and then they'll put boundaries in around everything. And I may be talking about myself here. And so then it's like you become inflexible. So you might say, Mum asked me to come and help, I don't know, do the garden. And I'll be like, no, I've planned to read a book. That's my boundary. And then I'm kind of setting a boundary around something really dumb. And so healthy boundary is working about your values and about what is in and what is out. And so is my value reading or is my value my family, my mom? And so it's kind of, and then each situation might be different because then maybe one day I have to read the book to prepare a presentation. I don't always have to say yes just because family is my value. So it's very much different depending on the situation, but a lot of it is your values. And Henry Cloud and Townsend wrote a book on boundaries, which I love. And they talk about a property line and a gate. And it's like, what's allowed in the gate and what's not allowed in the gate. And it's just a really good way to think about what do you want on your property. For example, let's just say you've got someone who is a bit toxic, who mistreats you. Like, if that's easy, like that's a boundary. They're not allowed in the gate. So it's deciding about what matters to you. And then some things, like, they're kind of neither here nor there. If you want to set a boundary, you don't have to, or you can. But yeah, healthy is about respecting others, respecting yourself, and deciding what your values are.
Mm. I love bringing it back to values, actually. And I'm not sure if you'll remember this, but before we even worked together, you came and did a bit of a presentation at our school about, I believe it was a behavior management kind of deal and teaching teachers how to teach again. And something that I really took away from there is behind every rule, which I guess in some ways is a boundary for children, for students, there should be a value. Otherwise, it's a bit pointless.
Mm, exactly. I think that one was actually boundaries and emotions or something. That one I did because we often have really big emotions when we set a boundary. So you got to be able to work through those as well. But I feel like we don't often reflect on our values and reflect on what matters to us. It's like, say, someone asks me to come over and help them clean the house. I'm tossing up between, like, do I want to do it or do I not want to do it? But then my value has to then look at, like, does that person need my help? Do I have priorities that I need to attend to? Like, what's important to me right now? And then it's not always going to be a static thing. But yeah, your values, like family for me, is a really big one. So, for example, my last job, I was working kind of 60-hour weeks for about 12 years. And so I just had a moment one day where I thought family and friends, like relationships, is a value. And I can't set boundaries here that are healthy if I stay in this job. So that was a really big decision in leaving.
Yeah, and if that's your value, family and relationships, still being able to be loving, important to set those boundaries. I guess sometimes people feel, if it's not explicitly communicated, sometimes people can feel like, oh, you're not loving me by putting up these walls and that kind of thing. I often think boundaries are like a little bit implicitly communicated, or it's a bit gray. And you've taught me a lot about how it's just great to be a little bit more communicative about that.
Yeah. I think to explaining them, like when I was a teacher, one of the best things I did was like I even did it with the year fours I worked with yesterday, was just saying, if I tell you off, if I say don't do this, why do you think I do that? And they got to the point where like, it's because I care about you, right? Like I'll set a boundary on you because I don't want you to get in trouble. I want you to grow, to build character. So even with family and friends, like I'm not coming because I need to get up early because I got something important on. That's important that I turn up and I'm prepared. So I feel like rather than just saying no, you don't have to explain. And a lot of people say no is a full sentence. But I feel like sometimes explaining where the boundary comes from is really helpful for friends and family.
Mm. As a person, so me personally, who struggles to say no, I think it comes from a little bit of people pleasing anxiety, which I was thinking about recently. Is I like that that's a starting place in some ways for me. I think if I found it very easy to say no, maybe I wouldn't be really a people focused person. So I'm trying to see the good side of that. I think maybe also stems a little bit into some biblical or kind of church doctrine where you go, oh, Jesus was so clear about being there, absolutely selfless. You should, die for people if given the chance, kind of thing. Or my misunderstanding around that, constantly giving of himself for others. What do you think? Thinking about not being able to say no very much, what do you think shapes our ability, or maybe our inability, to set healthy boundaries? Do you think that if I do this for too long, that there might be some long-term negative effects of fostering weak boundaries?
Yeah, so many. When I started writing them all down, there's so many reasons. A couple of things first, like every weakness, like poor boundaries, is also a strength. So it means you're probably kind and supporting others. So I do like that you can still see that. Sometimes we try to squash out that part of us, like if you're oversensitive or over whatever, but that's also a gift. And so it's managing it rather than getting rid of it. And then, like, Jesus went away from the crowds and went and did his own thing sometimes. So, anyone who thinks that that's biblical to just give, 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 I think you could go read a bit further and have a think about it. So, there's lots of reasons why we say yes when we should say no. One of them is fawning. And this is when you got fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So, fawning is when you are trying to manage other people. And so you become kind of easygoing. And so it might have been because when you said no, you had a mother who gave you the silent treatment. So you thought it's easier to just say yes and then not experience that. So you kind of take that easy road. Or maybe you had a really aggressive father or mother, and that's just a way to manage their emotions. So fawning's one. You want people to like you. And so if I say yes to everything, then I'm going to be popular and easygoing and, no one's going to get offended by me. So that's another one. And then another one is that we look good. So I think this is something I've struggled with over the years. I probably struggle with all of them actually, which is why I have a bit of insight into them. Is that I am the Christian, the kind, the helpful one. They always know that Mandy's the one that's going to turn up and volunteer. And And so you kind of get your character, your personality or your character is built on works. So, which is, again, never going to be okay, because I should be able to not do something and have the same character. And then finally, fear. So this is really a lot of them are lack of coping skills. So I'm fearful of their response. So like they might be angry, they might be disappointed, they might be sad. So there's all those things. And it's important to note there that a lot of time we make that up. So I'll say no to someone and I'll feel really bad. Like say, I remember this time I was started putting boundaries in a few years ago, just recently. And I said no to someone that I wasn't going to go to the party. And then the whole Saturday night, I felt guilty about not going to this party that this person really wanted me to go to. And when I spoke to them the next day, they like literally didn't care. They were like, no, we're fine. Like it was all good. And I was like, oh my goodness, like your brain just decides I might guess their response so that I can manage it. But again, like don't make people's thoughts up. So yeah, so there's some of the main ones that we say yes instead of no. And you can see there's like a wide range and they kind of overlap at times too.
Yeah, I definitely do the old if I feel out of relationship with someone, then I get quite stressed about it. And I think probably fawning's the one that I would struggle with the most. And we actually had a little bit of a chat this week about how I think maybe there's a control aspect to that where you can control the narrative if you're the one coming and doing this. So it's just like, I've never really thought about it too much as like a control thing. But yeah, is that would you say that's a huge negative if you're trying to always control each situation where things are going on?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. And I think like if you go into a room and you're scanning and you're looking at how to manage people, like that's a bit of a red flag that you're in that sort of zone of fixing things before you get a response. And like you have to think that if you have to manage people in your life that hard, um, do you really want them as close people in your life? Because that's a lot of work. If someone's that put off by you, if you can't go to a party or you can't help out one day, like it shouldn't be make or break.
Yeah, it's very stressful, really.
It's very stressful.
I think you've pioneered the step zero for me, which is the awareness step. So I love that because I'm like, I'm thinking about these things. I feel like I'm pretty close to step zero, being at least aware of it. Maybe I'll work
Correct.
on some of this stuff soon.
I have actually have the 3 stages I made up because it was probably 2020 when I realized I had 0 boundaries. I just like gone through a situation and I realized that I just said yes to all these things. I was completely burnt out from work. I think I was supervising like 12 PhD students. I was doing a radio show on ABC, running 2 core units. It was just out of hand. And I kind of sat down one day and I just thought, how did I get here? Like, it was just this slow burn that I wasn't even conscious of till I literally burnt out. Um, and then I sort of thought, okay, so you've got no boundaries, like fascinating when you're writing a book on with boundaries in it. But so the first step is you realize, you notice. And so someone will call me and they'll be like, hey, can you come over? I need some help with, and I'll be like, sure. And then I'll be like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
time to do that. Like, and then so there's the realization, you see it, but you still do it. Like, it's like too late. You've already done it. And then the second step for me is I say, sure. And then I come back and I say no. So I'll get back on the phone and I'll call them. I say, look, I wasn't really thinking very well, or I didn't put a lot of thought into that. I'm so sorry, I can't do it. So I'll come back and I'll say no. And that lasted probably a year for me of like realizing, oh, too late. Oops, but I saw it. And then the third stage is actually taking a few seconds when someone asks you, like giving yourself time to think. You don't have to give a quick response. I think that's where we get in a lot of trouble too. And then saying no straight up. And that's
Yeah.
like not perfect, but it's certainly It's the process. So if you're at the stage where you can see it, then that's a great start.
Yeah, well, thinking about that now, the next step of coming back and saying no, I think feels really daunting. I've never really thought, well, once I'm in it, I better follow through and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because that goes
But it's
back to
cool.
character, because you want to be
Yeah.
someone, your yes means yes.
Mm.
But what it does, and anything I say, anyone who's listening, you got to take it, in your own world with your own risks and your own, resources, is it taught me to sit with the feeling. So, say, I remember one night mum invited me for dinner, like Saturday night or something, and I was just exhausted. And I said, yes. And then I was like, I literally cannot go out. I'm so tired. So then I rang her back and said, look, like 5 minutes later, I said, look, I can't come. And she's like, yeah, no worries, all good. So she's fine, right? Like, but then I got off the phone and the guilt, oh my goodness, the guilt, like all night, like I ruined the whole night. Like I should have just gone. But I had to learn that feeling comes and how to manage that feeling. And until I start to say no when I should, I don't learn how to manage it. So yeah, it's important to do.
It's quite interesting that we're going through this learning in the middle of our lives. I feel like I'm actually really quite passionate about helping younger people to have some healthy boundaries and understand where boundary violations are. I think for many years, being a younger person and seeing a lot of my friends and the way that they interact with faith these days because of their boundaries probably being violated by educational institutions, church institutions, that gets me quite upset and kind of it gives me a lot of purpose now to go, all right, well, I want to be the older person who stands up for these people. I feel like we have ages of consent and drinking and so on because we understand that young people's brains aren't fully formed and they're still getting
Correct.
there. So we need to kind of help them along as the older, more mature people. So from a psychological perspective, churches often have really good values of courage, sacrifice, service, accountability, submission, even. When would you say that those values, and we're talking about values again, I guess, begin to cross the line into violating someone's boundaries? Do you think young people are probably a bit more at risk for that?
Yeah, for sure. And I think young people are at risk at any time there's a power difference. And even so, with my PhD students, I decided a couple of years ago that I was going to, in my catch up meetings with them, ask them how I could be a better supervisor. And you should have seen the look on their face. They were like, I could just see that they were never going to tell me because I have a power position over them and they were not going to risk me rejecting them. And so, anytime you have someone and you have more power, I think it's really important to just remember that you're the adult and that you set the boundaries, that you are considerate of that person. And I was thinking, like, you got to give them like the chance to talk to you. So, what I have found with people, if I have a power position, is I'll give them specific things. Like, say, my PhD students, just as an example, I'd say, do you have enough time with me? Like, do I give you enough time? Do I give you too much feedback or not enough feedback? And I find when you're specific with people, they can answer those sorts of questions. They don't mind because you've brought them up. So I would, if I was a leader in a church or school, I would be constantly meeting with them to have those conversations and to give them opportunity. I'd also give them time. So if I ask them to do something, I would say to them, go away, talk to your parents, talk to your other friends, have a think about it. Because anytime that, and that's what I said before, anytime someone has to give a quick yes, then that's big red flag. Like there should be no quick yeses. I mean, like small things like, can you go empty the bin? That's fine. Go empty the bin. That's fine. Don't have to set boundaries around the whole world. But if you're pressuring someone to do something like an answer quickly, then that's not really great. You should also take out the emotion. So I would say let's use my students again. So I'd email them and say, do you have your latest chapter? And if you don't, there's no problem. I'm not upset, not worried, doesn't concern me. So super clear, like that there's no consequence here. Like, and we talked at another time about being explicit. I was like, because what we do, as I said before, you go away and you make assumptions. You're like, oh, they're going to be mad at me. They're going to be disappointed. They're going to be this. And that's just humanity because you want to stay in a relationship. So I'm really clear, like there is no emotion around this. There's no feelings, I'm not disappointed. So, because I think, the church, I mean, I am who I am. I grew up in church, taught me so much. Like, and I feel like they pressured me in lots of ways, in good ways. Like, I wouldn't have spoken in front of people. I wouldn't have led groups. There's so many skills I learned because I got pushed into it a little bit. But is it in the best interests of that person? Would probably be a question I'd be always asking too. Are you doing it? Do you think it's good for them? Or do you think that you just need extra hands on deck? What kind of thing? And I know like a lot of my friends have left church because they felt a little bit used over the years. And so you don't want to like disappoint people and hurt people so that they go.
Yeah, it is. It is really common, unfortunately, that's a bit of a narrative of a lot of people I know of why they've left. I guess power dynamics. As you're talking about this, I was thinking power dynamics. Power dynamics are there in all relationships, and particularly in schools and in churches. And in schools, we do the place functions on that in some ways. We've even conditioned a lot of response. The teachers have all of the power in a lot of the situations, and it's about working respectfully through a lot of that. I think churches rather, maybe you can use like some spiritual language or some guilt factor to sometimes play on that a little bit. When do you think that there's a point where you go, oh, how can you tell when a community like has become a bit psychologically unhealthy? Do you think there's something specific that happens, or are they just helping these young people be involved in serving a greater purpose?
Yeah, I really think you should always be in multiple communities. I feel like when you're in one community, you become used to that as being a normal thing when not necessarily that's not how other people treat you. I mean, a great example is at work now. That community is amazing. I look back at other workplaces and I'm like, oh, yeah, they were nothing like that. So it kind of gives you a different standard. And I also have something I call kind of the ick factor. So I know when I was teaching, like kids would be annoying and I'd be like, oh, I'll just tell everything off. Like that's my boundary. Like I said, don't pick up your pen. So I'm like, put your pen down. And then I'm just telling off. So boundaries around everything, right? And then I was like, this is like insane. Like I'm driving them all mad and I'm going mad at the same time. So then I was like, okay, when I get this thing inside of me, it's like, that's not right. And remember, so I draw like a square and it's like, what's in, like, what do I want in my classroom? It's like respectful, kind, inclusive. Is it in or is it out? Is it disrespectful, exclusive? So like say someone then is teasing someone, then that's a boundary. That's like, no, don't do that. And so the more I trust my ick, the more I sort of go with it. Because I think what people do and what I did when I kind of had my burnout was that I just squashed it. So I'm like, I'm just probably just not nice enough a person. I should try harder. And so yeah, I really had to work on like the dogs have just come in and they're playing behind me. I had to
That's great.
really I had to really work on like listening to myself again and not squashing that. And the other thing, like if I remember someone saying to me, a leader, I feel like God's told me you should do X. Yeah. And I said, oh, that's interesting because God hasn't told me that I should do X. But I was mature enough. I'd gone back to start my psych degree. So I would have been in my 30s to be able to say that. And I said, I want time and I could ask for time. But, like anyone who says God's told us, then I would go and have a good think about that. Like, is that true? is that not true?
Yeah. Did you get told a few times, God's told me that we're getting married? Just from
No.
guys? Okay. Ooh, lucky.
No, that would have been like a big red flag.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely.
I have
I
been
never
told.
use that one, I promise.
I don't want to say anything specific because then if someone's watching, then they'll be like, "Oh, I said that."
Yeah. I definitely this is shameful, but I've used the God told me we need to break up before, which is that's a nick right there.
Did you do
Oh
that?
man. Yeah, don't bring it up. It's bad. I have done that.
Oh, that's so
I
funny.
love that you're talking about the ick and like but also then here's my tangible box. It's like validating. It's psychology, so we're validating like this is how I feel. This is actually I feel this ick. I feel that this is coming along, but here are some tangible things that I can go forward with when I'm thinking about how to set boundaries in a classroom and in any space.
Yeah, because you think when they do it, right? And this is the same with any boundary, is that if I let that go, that has created a new culture in my classroom. So you
Mm.
could take that into relationship, family, workplace, whatever you allow in the gate, as Cloud and Townsend say, is now part of your property. It's part of like your life. So I get to the point, it's like, I don't want my classroom, I don't want my relationship, I don't want my workplace to have that quality in it. So it becomes, as I've gotten older, I think it's become more kind of clear to me that there's an absolute no there for many things.
Yeah, it's good. Do you think if you had to consult a church, let's pretend we had some real big wigs here for an educational institute or a church listening, and you had to consult them on genuinely wanting to protect young people, not just from abuse but from unhealthy psychological dynamics. Would you, if they were right here, what practical changes would you say? All right, you guys can do these right here, right now. I recommend these things.
Yes. So I have 4 points. It's like understand young people's desire to please, uh, people that are more senior, more powerful, and don't assume their yes is a real yes. So keep that in mind that like just because you can get an easy yes out of someone doesn't mean that they really want to say yes. Provide space for no. So let them know, which I've said before, there are other options. So I might say to you, hey, Matt, can you help me with a project Monday? And if you can't, I've got Jack's can help. So like give them an out so that they can actually say no to you. And we're playing with the toy again over here.
That's cute.
Can you hear them?
Yeah, I could hear him a little bit. That's so good.
I gotta I could shut the door, but yeah. All right,
That's all
teach
good.
them the ick feeling when teaching. So, like, teach them to listen to themselves. It's like that feels uncomfortable. And this is so important for young people, even in relationships. It's like, don't shut it down. Like, you feel uncomfortable for a reason. There's something not right about what someone's asked of you. You don't want to do it. It's like, young people, like, let's go out drinking. And you're like, I don't want to. Like, that first response in your spirit is like, don't do it then. And sometimes you might just need to buy yourself some time and go, oh, I'll tell you tomorrow. That's okay. Like, give yourself some time. So teach them that they can listen to that and give them examples. So, like, I gave the year fours some examples and said, I want your true response to me. So, like, gave them some practice. And then I showed them how I would respond to make them feel safe. Because you want people to feel safe that they can actually say no. One of my questions is, do you give them as much as you take? Or do you just request stuff from them? And so, like, are you just asking, crossing boundaries, taking time, taking their resources, their energy, their creativity, and then that's it? Or are you in a partnership with them? And are you growing them, supporting them? And for me, one of the things is, do I have someone's best interests? And even when I discipline a child, I'll be like, am I doing this to make myself comfortable, or am I doing this to support and help grow this young person? And that's been a bit of a game changer for me. Sometimes it's the question about, am I protecting me? And sometimes it's like, am I protecting them? Um, and finally, which I also said before, is just to give them space to explain. Do you feel weird? Do you feel uncomfortable? Ask them those questions. Are you too busy? Have I put too much on you? Can I do anything to make this better? Is this working for you? And like, keep having those conversations. If you have a relationship, or are they just like a servant? Are they just a worker for you?
Yeah, it's so much of that. I love the understanding young people, understanding it's difficult for them to say no, um, and even understanding how you react when they say no is going to really teach them a lot. And I've seen that done poorly before. And although it might not be like here's a punishment or anything, it might
Yeah.
be just oh well, you're not climbing up the spiritual ladder, or that's maybe a too
Yeah, a
derogatory way
little
of
bit
thinking of it.
disappointed. I thought you're a team player.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I'm not
yeah,
a team player.
yeah. Implying that there's something really wrong with saying no, and it's everything that young people do is really formative of who they become, and they're just learning all the time. And you have to be really careful how you treat them when they do something good that isn't necessarily benefiting your cause right then and there, and helping you
Yeah.
out right there. And I totally get that people get stressed and they've got deadlines to meet and they got stuff to be done and that kind of thing. Whether it's school, whether it's church, these are busy places, and a lot of people rely on a lot of people to do things. So I get that, but it's damaging to people sometimes when you don't think about those consequences.
I heard from this, I saw it online. It was this awesome, I can't remember where I saw it. I like giving people recognition. Anyway, it said when you first start dating someone, so you could use this in a job or church, say an early no and check their response. And if you get the guilt, the anger, the sadness, and all that, then that's not a good situation. And so that's a little thing I do now. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting. Like, if people can hold space, because the other people need to be whole, right? And be able to cope with you saying no, because not everyone is whole. But if they're not, and they're your leader or they're your partner, then like there's some concerns there.
If you had a young person who was quite afraid that people would then, so if they do this early test of saying no, someone's going to reject them, what advice would you give them to say this is actually quite healthy? It's a good thing to do. How would you convince them of that? I'm just thinking about me as a young person. I'd be so like, oh man, everyone's going to hate me.
Lost all my friends.
Yeah, yeah.
I think like back in 2020, when I decided to put all my boundaries in, I actually did lose like quite a few friends. It was really interesting. And I was like so disappointed, because I thought, wow, so many relationships are contingent on me being the helper, on me being their psychologist on the side, on me doing everything for them. And I didn't realize that I've created that situation. Like, they just worked with what I was giving, right? But then what's happened since then is I've got probably triple the amount of friends, and they're good friends. Like, they could message me now. I could say no. I can be me, like properly me, and they're not going anywhere. And that feeling is so relaxing. It's just not you trying to monitor everything anymore. And so, yeah, you might lose some friends along the way. I mean, you don't want to lose them over dumb stuff. Like, don't put boundaries around, No, I don't brush my teeth before 7. We can't be friends anymore, that kind of thing. Like, don't be ridiculous. But if it's a value and it's something that's in your world that matters, then, it's okay. There are other people out there that will like honor that value.
I think that's a little bit of the sad reality of when you decide to live your truth. People will not be able to handle that and not be able to hold that. and that's okay. It just means that those are not your people at that moment. But the people who are your people will be able to, and you'll draw closer to them.
Yeah. And like you think about yourself, like I really respect you and appreciate you.
Thanks.
Like if you were inauthentic, and like a pushover, I probably wouldn't. So like our friendship is probably based on you living out like who you really are.
Oh, thanks. That's quite complimentary.
I'm not trying to
If
fawn and manage you either.
No, good. I don't feel like you are. If you had one last bit of gold before we sign off, like let's say we have a young person who's listening and they're thinking, oh, gee, how can I work all this boundary stuff out before I become an adult, or as I'm becoming an adult? What would this last bit of gold be, Mandy?
Yeah, and it's funny because I was talking to a young person yesterday, a year 11 student, and I said, "Oh, I wish I knew what I'm telling you now." Like
Mm.
it's such a gift for me to be able to work with young people and help them with this. But I would say to them that you can get lots of temporary friends with no boundaries, and it seems good because everyone's on your side, but you're not actually living the life you were made to live. You're living the life created by others. And I have this real passion inside of me that you should don't, and my other advice is don't have two dogs. Like that would be my
I can hear that. It's so cute.
I have this real passion that you live the life you like. I just feel like everyone's created unique. And when you alter yourself and shut down parts and allow things that shouldn't be in your life, then you're not living you. Like the world is missing you. And I feel like that's such a tragedy. And so what you want to do is like have a much easier life, live your authentic life, and, understand your values and decide this is who I'm going to be and stick with that and decide what comes in the gate and what doesn't come in the gate.
Beautiful. That was one last bit of gold. Thank you so much for joining me, Mandy. I've really enjoyed chatting, and I hope that we get to do this again at some point soon.
Yeah, we have so many topics. I probably should just add that just a careful thing at the end is also that if you've never done this, if you've never set boundaries, then I don't encourage you to suddenly go and start doing it. Take it really slow, set small ones. Be conscious of who you're setting boundaries with if you've never done it, because people can react, and you just have to be really wise when you've not ever had boundaries.
So, where can people find you if they wanted to see some more of your content? I keep telling Mandy she needs to audiobook her book because that's the only way I consume books. I'm too lazy to read. But where else can we find you?
So I have a website, MandySheen.com, or is it Dr. Mandy Sheen? I should know, shouldn't I? I have an account on Medium where I write, and I have an Instagram at Dr. Mandy Sheen, and I have a Substack at Dr. Mandy Sheen that I've just started building up as well. And so
Beautiful.
happy to share anything. And if anyone has anything they'd like to hear about or chat about or me to post, then happy to get some feedback too. Your feedback and your boundary does not bother me. Like when you get whole, you can have people say no. So what we want is to create more whole people that are living like a really authentic life.
Yeah, that's what this is about, helping people live a more authentic life.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.